A woman told me she went to her first meeting at 23. Someone handed her a book, told her to read it, and said, "This is the only way." She tried. She tried for 2 years. It did not work for her. And because she had been told it was the only way, she assumed she was the problem. She spent the next 5 years thinking she was unfixable. She was not unfixable. She was in the wrong lane. Have you been told there is only one path? Have you tried something that did not fit and walked away believing the problem was you? This episode is going to feel different from the first 4. Less warm, more direct. Because this topic requires me to lay out information without leaning toward any of it. I have my own opinions, everyone does, but this show promised you every path respected, and that means I give you the evidence, the options, and the honest limitations of each one, and you decide. That is how this works. I also need to say up front, what we are covering today is general knowledge. We are highlighting the most common programs in each category. This is not every program that exists. There are hundreds. In the episode description, I have linked to 2 resources where you can see a complete list from organizations that track all of them. One is Faces and Voices of Recovery, which maintains the most comprehensive guide to mutual aid groups in the country. The other is SAMHSA, which is the federal government's Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Both links are in the description. Check them out after this episode. Thank you for taking the time to understand your options. Because knowing what is out there is the first step to choosing what actually fits your life. And that choice, that is yours, not mine, not anyone else's. This is Recovery Decoded, Episode 5, The Recovery Models. Your body is healing. Here is the map. You choose the route. Before we get into the individual programs, I want to start with something that most people never see: the common ground. There are over 200 recovery organizations worldwide. That sounds overwhelming. But almost every one of them falls into one of 6 philosophical categories. Once you understand the categories, you can evaluate any program you encounter, even ones that do not exist yet. That is what today is about. Not memorizing names, understanding approaches. But first, the 12-step model. Because it is the most well-known, the most studied, and the most misunderstood. And I want to be honest about all 3. Most people have heard of the 12 steps, even if they have never been to a meeting. They were originally written by the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous in the late 1930s. Since then, over 200 organizations have adapted them. Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Celebrate Recovery, Gamblers Anonymous, and many more. Now here is what I got wrong when I first learned about this, and I want to make sure you do not make the same mistake. The 12 steps are not identical across programs. The specific wording changes. The emphasis changes. AA says, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol. NA adapts that to powerlessness over addiction. Celebrate Recovery says, we admitted we are not God and that our lives have become unmanageable. Different framing, different weight. Some programs are explicitly Christian. Some are broadly spiritual. Some have moved away from the word God entirely. But there is a common arc. And understanding the arc is more useful than memorizing any one version. Every 12-step program moves through 4 phases. The words are different, but the journey is the same. Phase 1, honest assessment. This is steps 1 through 3. The underlying principles are honesty, hope, and surrender. In plain language, acknowledging that the problem is bigger than you can handle alone, believing change is possible, and accepting help from a higher power, from a community, from something outside yourself. How each program defines that help is where they differ, but the core idea is the same. I cannot do this by myself. Phase 2, self-examination. Steps 4 through 7. The principles are courage, integrity, willingness, and humility. This is where you look honestly at who you have been and what you have done. You write it down. You share it with another person. You become willing to change. The core, I need to see myself clearly. The good and the harm. Phase 3, repair. Steps 8 and 9. The principles are love and responsibility. You make a list of people you have harmed. You make amends where possible without causing more damage. The core, I take responsibility for the wreckage and I try to fix what I can. Phase 4, maintenance and service. Steps 10 through 12. The principles are discipline, awareness, and service. You continue taking inventory. You deepen your practice, whatever that looks like for you. And you help others. The core, recovery is not the destination. It is a way of living. Now, the research. A 2020 Cochrane review, which is considered the gold standard in medical research, analyzed 27 studies with over 10,000 participants. It found that 12-step programs produced higher rates of continuous abstinence than other treatments like cognitive behavioral therapy. 42% of participants were completely abstinent at 1 year, compared to 35% in other treatments. But here is the nuance, and this matters. When researchers measured total abstinent days instead of continuous abstinence, people in other programs performed equally well. The advantage was specifically in unbroken sobriety, not in total sober days. And 12-step programs have the most research, partly because they have been around the longest. More studies does not automatically mean more effective. It means more studied. This is the most studied model. It is also free, global, and available in almost every community. For many people, it is exactly what they need. For others, it is not. Both of those things can be true at the same time. Now let me contrast that with a fundamentally different structure. The SMART Recovery 4-point program. SMART stands for Self-Management and Recovery Training. It was founded in 1994 as a science-based secular alternative to 12-step programs. There are no steps, there is no higher power, there is no sponsorship in the traditional sense, and the 4 points can be worked in any order based on what you need right now. That is a fundamentally different philosophy. Point 1. Building and maintaining motivation. Why do you want to change? What are the costs of using versus the benefits of recovery? Point 2. Coping with urges. Identify your triggers. Learn to deflect cravings using cognitive behavioral tools, the same science we covered in episode 4. Point 3. Managing thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Examine the beliefs driving your behavior. Challenge them. Change them. Point 4. Living a balanced life. Long-term planning. Lifestyle design. Building a life you do not need to escape from. Here is the key difference. 12-step programs follow a sequential arc from admission through repair to service. The arc says, go through this process in order, and the process changes you. SMART says, you have the power to change. Here are the tools. Work on whatever you need, whenever you need it. Neither is wrong. They are different operating systems for the same goal. And honestly, up to 50% of Smart Recovery participants also attend 12-step meetings. Many people run both. That is allowed. That is encouraged. This is not a competition. All right. Let us walk through the 6 lanes, 6 philosophical categories that cover virtually every recovery program in existence. For each one, I will tell you what it is, how it works, name 2 or 3 of the most common programs in that lane, and be honest about the evidence. Lane 1. Surrender-based programs. This is where the 12-step model lives. The philosophy is that recovery comes through admitting the problem is bigger than you, surrendering to a power greater than yourself, and working a structured program within a community. The biggest programs, Alcoholics Anonymous, which has over 2 million members in 180 countries. Narcotics Anonymous, which applies the same model to drug addiction. And Cocaine Anonymous, which focuses specifically on cocaine and crack. These programs are free. They are everywhere. They run on peer support, sponsorship, and regular meetings. The evidence base is the strongest of any mutual aid group, particularly for continuous abstinence. And the social connection, the fellowship, is often cited as the single biggest reason they work. You are not doing it alone. You are doing it with people who understand because they have been where you are. Who this tends to fit. People who respond to community. People who are open to spiritual or higher power concepts. people who benefit from structure and accountability through sponsorship. Lane 2, self-empowerment programs. The philosophy is that you have the internal resources to manage your own recovery. You do not need to surrender to a higher power. You need tools, skills, and practice. Smart Recovery is the largest program in this lane, over 2,400 weekly meetings in 21 countries. LifeRing Secular Recovery is another option. It emphasizes building your sober self rather than focusing on your addicted self. And SOS, Secular Organizations for Sobriety, is one of the oldest alternatives to 12-step, founded specifically for people who wanted recovery without spiritual framework. The evidence is growing. Studies show that engagement, not the specific program, is the strongest predictor of success. People who attend regularly and stay involved tend to do well regardless of which program they choose. Who this tends to fit? People who want science-based tools over spiritual frameworks. People who are uncomfortable with the concept of powerlessness. People who want to build personal agency as the foundation of their recovery. Lane 3, contemplative and mindfulness-based programs. The philosophy is that recovery comes through present moment awareness, meditation, and compassionate self-examination. Recovery Dharma is the most active program in this lane. It is Buddhist informed but does not require any religious belief. There is no higher power, no steps. The framework is built around the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path adapted for addiction. Refuge Recovery was the original program in this space, though it went through organizational changes and many groups transitioned to Recovery Dharma. The evidence base is emerging. Mindfulness-based relapse prevention has clinical support, but the specific mutual aid programs in this lane have fewer large-scale studies than 12-step or SMART. Who this tends to fit? People who resonate with meditation and stillness. People who find insight through self-observation rather than structured steps or cognitive tools. People who have explored spirituality but not in a traditional Western religious context. Lane 4, medical and clinical programs. The philosophy is that addiction is a medical condition that can be treated with medical tools. Medication, structured therapy, and clinical oversight. Medication-assisted treatment, or MAT, is the cornerstone of this lane. The three most common medications for alcohol use disorder are naltrexone, which blocks the receptors that make alcohol feel rewarding, acamprosate, which helps restore the chemical balance in the brain after quitting, and disulfiram, which creates a negative physical reaction if you drink. For opioid use disorder, buprenorphine and methadone are the primary medications. We are going to do a full deep dive into each of these in episode 7. Intensive outpatient programs, or IOPs, are structured therapy programs where you attend multiple sessions per week but continue living at home. An individual therapy, CBT, DBT, EMDR for trauma, is clinical work done one-on-one with a licensed therapist. Episode 6 covers how to find one and what to say on the first call. The evidence base here is very strong, particularly for MAT. Cochrane reviews and multiple randomized controlled trials support these interventions. And yet, this is the most stigmatized lane. People on MAT are told they are not really sober. They are told they are replacing one drug with another. That is not what the science says. Naltrexone does not get you high. Buprenorphine at therapeutic doses does not produce euphoria. These medications stabilize your brain chemistry so you can engage in the work of recovery. That is not cheating. That is medicine. Who this tends to fit. People who want clinical support alongside or instead of peer groups. People whose addiction has a significant physiological component. People who have tried other approaches and need additional medical stabilization. Lane 5. Faith-based programs. The philosophy is that recovery is strengthened through spiritual community, religious practice, and a relationship with God as understood within a specific faith tradition. Celebrate Recovery is the largest program in this lane. It operates in over 35,000 churches worldwide and is explicitly Christian. Each of its 12 steps is paired with a Bible verse. It is open to all forms of addiction, not just substances. JACS, Jewish alcoholics, chemically dependent persons, and significant others serves the Jewish community. And Malati Islami provides a 12-step framework grounded in Islamic principles and practice. The evidence varies. Celebrate Recovery has the most research of the faith-based programs, though less than AA or SMART. The mechanism appears similar to 12-step. Community, accountability, structured process, with the added dimension of a faith community that often extends beyond the recovery meeting itself. Who this tends to fit. People whose faith is central to who they are. People who find strength in prayer, scripture, and spiritual community. People who want recovery to live within their existing religious framework rather than alongside it. Lane 6. Harm reduction. I need to be upfront. This is the most controversial lane, and I am going to present it the same way I have presented every other one. Evidence and limitations. No ranking. The philosophy is that recovery exists on a spectrum. Not everyone is ready for or capable of immediate abstinence. Reducing use, reducing harm, and reducing consequences is a valid starting point, and for some, a valid endpoint. Moderation management is the most well-known program in this lane. It was founded for people who are not severely dependent but want to change their relationship with alcohol. HAMS, which stands for Harm Reduction, Abstinence, and Moderation Support, offers a broader framework that includes abstinence as one option among several. The evidence. Harm reduction has strong support in public health settings for reducing overdose deaths, disease transmission, and emergency room visits. As a recovery model for individuals, the evidence is more limited and more debated. The honest truth is that harm reduction works for some people, particularly those with mild to moderate alcohol use disorder, and does not work for others, particularly those with severe dependency. Knowing which category you fall into matters. If you are not sure, talk to a clinician. This is not a lane to navigate alone. Who this tends to fit: people who are not yet ready for abstinence, but want to reduce harm now. People with mild to moderate use disorder who want to change their patterns without committing to lifelong abstinence. People for whom the all or nothing framing of other models is a barrier to starting. All right, I need to talk about something that does not get discussed enough: protecting yourself. Recovery spaces save lives. I believe that completely. But recovery spaces are also places where vulnerable people are surrounded by other vulnerable people. And that can create conditions for harm. This is not an indictment of any program. This is information you deserve to have. Predatory sponsorship. A sponsor is supposed to guide you, not control you. If a sponsor is making decisions about your personal life, who you can see, where you can live, whether you can take prescribed medication, that is not sponsorship. That is control. If you feel smaller after talking to your sponsor, not stronger, that is information. A good sponsor helps you build your own judgment. A predatory sponsor replaces it with theirs. 13th stepping. This is a term used inside meeting-based communities for people with long-term sobriety who pursue romantic or sexual relationships with vulnerable newcomers. This happens. It is reported across every meeting-based program. It is not the program's fault. But it is your right to know about it and to protect yourself. If someone with significant sober time is paying you special attention in your first weeks or months, be cautious. Programs that punish questions. Any program, any meeting, any leader who tells you that their way is the only way, that questioning the method means you are not ready, or that doubt is a sign of failure, that is a red flag. A good program welcomes questions. A controlling program punishes them. You have the right to ask why. Always. Financial predation. This applies more to treatment centers than mutual aid groups, but it matters. Some facilities exploit insurance benefits, charge excessive fees for minimal services, or keep people enrolled longer than clinically necessary for billing purposes. If a treatment center makes you feel pressured to stay when you feel ready to leave, or if the financial terms feel unclear, get a second opinion. None of this means recovery spaces are dangerous. Most are not. Most are filled with people who genuinely want to help. But you are allowed to protect yourself while you heal. Healing and vigilance can coexist. Now, how do you choose? Here are 5 questions to ask yourself. Not a quiz, a thinking tool. 1. Do I respond more to community and accountability, or to independence and self-direction? If community, look at surrender-based or faith-based lanes. If independence, look at self-empowerment. 2. Am I open to spiritual or religious concepts in my recovery? If yes, 12-step, faith-based, or contemplative lanes? If not, self-empowerment or medical. 3. Do I need medical support alongside peer support? If yes, medical lane, possibly combined with another. 4. Is my use disorder mild, moderate, or severe? If mild to moderate, more options are available, including harm reduction. If severe, medical support and structured programs have the strongest evidence. 5. Do I want to commit to abstinence, or am I exploring reduction first? This is an honest question with no wrong answer. Your answer points you toward the lane that fits right now. And right now is all that matters. And 3 questions to ask any program before committing. Does this program welcome questions and doubt or punish them? Does this program acknowledge that other approaches exist and can work, or insist it is the only way? Does this program protect vulnerable newcomers or minimize concerns about safety? If the answer to any of those is uncomfortable, that is information. Use it. Remember, what I covered today is the most common programs in each category. It is not everything that exists. The full landscape is bigger than any single episode can hold. In the description below, I have linked to 2 resources. Faces and Voices of Recovery maintains the most comprehensive guide to mutual aid groups in the country, covering every type of program. And SAMHSA, the Federal Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, has a treatment locator and support group directory at samhsa.gov. Both links are in the description. Go look at them. See what is available in your area that we did not have time to name today. Here is what I want you to do this week. Look up one program you have never considered. You do not have to attend. You do not have to commit. Just read about it. See if something resonates. The woman I told you about at the beginning, the one who spent 5 years thinking she was unfixable, she found smart recovery at age 30. It fit. She has been sober for 8 years. She was not broken. She was in the wrong lane. Maybe you are too. Or maybe you are in exactly the right one and just needed someone to confirm it. Either way, the choice is yours. That has always been the point. Next week on Recovery Decoded, Episode 6, The Therapy Guide, we are going deep into the proven therapeutic approaches, CBT, DBT, motivational interviewing, EMDR for trauma, what each one actually does in your brain, how to find a therapist who understands addiction, what to say on the first phone call, and how to navigate insurance without losing your mind. If there is something we have not covered that you need to hear about, a specific substance, a specific program, a question about medication, how to talk to your family about what you are going through, something you searched for at 2 a.m. and could not find a real answer for. Put it in the comments. This show is built around what you are actually going through, not what we think you should hear. You decide what comes next. And whatever you are facing this week, remember, nobody is making this choice for you. Not a program, not a sponsor, not this podcast. You are choosing to understand. You are choosing to show up. That is yours. Nobody gave it to you, and nobody can take it back. The more you understand, the more you own your recovery.